Hello, hello. It is my very great honor and privilege to announce to you that within a very few moments, the Supreme Pontiff, His Holiness Pius XI, will inaugurate the radio station of the State of the Vatican City. The electric waves will carry his august words of peace and benediction throughout all the world.
These were the words spoken by Guglielmo Marconi, the scientist credited with the invention of the radio during the inauguration of the Pope's radio, Vatican Radio, on February the 12th, 1931. Immediately after his words, Pope Pius XI approached the microphone to deliver his radio message, addressing the faithful around the world. He did so in Latin, the universal language of the Catholic Church.
Quanto preziosiorum thesaurum gestatis, tanto diligenziorem adipeatis custodium.
Just 2 years later, Pope Pius XI and Guglielmo Marconi inaugurated a new shortwave radio station that connected Vatican City to the Pontifical Palace in Castel Gandolfo. On this occasion, Pope Pius XI spontaneously shared a reflection that would leave a lasting impression in history.
Resta tuttavia, resta intera.
Yet, our curiosity, our desire to know, remains unbroken. How is it that the human mind sees, so to speak, sees with such a distinct viewpoint, measures with such precise measurement, while the eye cannot see and the hand cannot reach?
E che la mano non raggiunge.
The popes have always been quite forward-thinking when it comes to technology, especially regarding radio. Pius XI, who strongly desired the establishment of Vatican Radio, specifically called upon Marconi because he was, at the time, the great protagonist of international broadcasting. Marconi was responsible for producing all the equipment used around the world, including that of the BBC.
After the death of Pope Pius XI, Vatican Radio followed the conclave and the coronation of the new pontiff, Cardinal Eugenio Pacelli, who became Pope Pius XII. Pacelli gave new impetus to the radio station by establishing an office dedicated to reaching out to people during the course of World War II.
This initiative, which was desired by Pius XII, aimed to give Italians and later other populations around the world the possibility of getting in touch with their loved ones, especially in war-affected Italy. Considering that the war involved both military personnel and civilians worldwide, one can think of prisoners of war who were in India, the United States, or Canada. Through the nunciatures, the International Red Cross, and embassies, they could somehow communicate with their families. Thanks to this office of searching for people, which collected all the messages and then transmitted them via the Vatican network into the ether. Those who had access to a radio could receive news about their loved ones. Between 1940 and 1946, over 1.2 million messages were transmitted.
These initiatives deeply marked the role of the successive popes, making them increasingly independent and influential, particularly in terms of communication.
The great problem for the popes until the 20th century was their lack of independence. The popes were often censored by the powerful authorities of this world. However, with Pius XI, something new emerged. The pope became independent and could communicate without interference from external authorities. Thus, Vatican Radio was born, representing a significant advantage for the pope and for every Christian. As Christians, we are all communicators, bearers of a message.
Tutti comunicatori, portatori di un messaggio.
A universal message, that of Vatican Radio, which needs to be explained and translated in order to be understood.
The popes of all these years, of these decades, have always launched concrete appeals. Obviously, to understand them, they need to be explained. This, let's say, is the task of Vatican Radio, in explaining to those who are listening what the Pope wishes to say, also what the Christian messages wish to say in the current context, especially in those difficult contexts. that unfortunately affect many parts of the world.
Today, the Vatican radio station continues to carry out its service of information in the entire world, transmitting both the voice of the Pope, the Vicar of Christ, as well as useful news items, also for the protection of Christians in those places where they are still persecuted.
Io vorrei ricordare soprattutto
I would especially like to remember Pierluigi Maccali, a missionary that was kidnapped by jihadists in Mali, Africa. During his imprisonment, the only hope he had was that of listening to the radio. And he says he had the fortune of being able to listen to Vatican Radio during his imprisonment. He could hear the voice of the Pope, but most of all, also feel his closeness. The appeals the Pope made for him, for his liberation. And so it was a way for him to survive, also spiritually. Then, after his liberation, he sent us a letter, thanking us for this service that we made for him. And there we understood that what we can do can actually save the lives of many Christians in many parts of the world.
Di molti cristiani in molte parti di questo mondo.